Today, we're jumping into a timeless story that really gets you thinking about a simple but powerful question. Can your character actually shape your destiny? We're going to follow two men, one generous and one greedy, and see how the choices they make end up creating two completely different lives. So, let's dive in. All right, so here's the setup. We've got two companions on a long journey. But here's the real question we're exploring. How are their personalities, their inner compasses, going to steer them to their ultimate fates? It's a journey on the outside, but the real story is what's happening on the inside. So, let's meet our guys. They've just crossed this huge desert and they stop to take a breather at the edge of a forest. And it's right here, in this totally ordinary moment, that we first see who they really are and where the big conflict of the story really begins. And wow, the difference between them hits you right away. The generous man makes a totally fair offer. He says, hey, we'll eat my food today and then we'll eat yours tomorrow. Simple, right? It's all about trust. But the miser, he doesn't see a partner. He sees a chance to get ahead. And this is where we see the first big betrayal. When night falls, the miser gets paranoid about being hungry later, so he sneaks off and eats his own food in secret. Think about that. He chose his own potential future hunger over a real promise he made to his friend. And just like that, the deal is broken. The generous man isn't stupid. He realizes he's traveling with someone he just can't trust, and he makes a huge decision. He leaves. This isn't really about the food, you know? It's about a fundamental clash of values. He'd rather be alone than with a dishonest partner. And this is the exact moment their paths split for good. So our generous man is walking alone through the night, and he stumbles upon this old, abandoned mill. He's just looking for a safe place to crash, so he climbs up into a room high off the ground to rest. But it turns out he's not alone, and what he's about to see is going to change everything. As he's hiding up there, this absolutely unbelievable scene starts to play out below. The kings of the animal world, a lion, a tiger, a panther, you name it, they'd all come into the mill for their monthly meeting. He holds his breath, and suddenly he's eavesdropping on basically the world's wildest intelligence briefing. First up, the tiger drops this bombshell. There's a mouse nearby, just hoarding 100 gold coins. It's just sitting there, totally unguarded. This is the first piece of incredible luck that falls right into our hero's lap. Then, the panther chimes in with something maybe even better than gold. The king's daughter is super sick, and it turns out the cure is inside the egg of one specific hen that belongs to a poor farmer. This isn't just money, this is knowledge that can save a life and put him in the king's good graces. And for the grand finale, the hyena reveals the biggest secret of them all. There's this huge, ancient tree nearby that's barren because there's a massive treasure buried underneath it, choking its roots. We're talking life-changing generational wealth. So get this, the man now holds 3 keys to a completely new future. So when the sun comes up, the man doesn't just sit there counting his lucky stars. No, he makes a plan. He gets it. This amazing information means nothing if he doesn't act on it, and act on it smartly. I mean, just look at this strategy. It's brilliant. He uses the first secret, that mouse is gold, as seed money to get the second key, the hen. Then he uses the hen to solve the princess's problem, which then gives him the power and the help he needs to go after the final, biggest prize. It's like dominoes. And the way he does it is just as smart as the plan itself. He doesn't just burst in. He carefully uses the cure from the egg 4 separate times, patiently helping the princess get better step by step. First she moves, then opens her eyes, then speaks, and finally stands up, totally healed. This shows you it's not just about luck, it's about wisdom. And the reward is just staggering. The king is a man of his word. Our guy marries the princess and becomes royalty. And with the king's help, he digs up that massive treasure. His smart, careful actions have completely flipped his life upside down. But this next part, this is what really tells you who he is. Even with more money than he could ever dream of, his character doesn't change one bit. He takes his share, sure, but he pays the workers who helped him a ton, and then gives a huge chunk to the poor. This just proves his generosity was never an act. It's just who he is, deep down. So one day, our hero, now a prince, actually runs into his old travel buddy. The miser is just blown away by the transformation and, of course, begs to know how it all happened. And the generous man, being who he is, tells him the whole story. The mill, the animals, all of it. And this is where the miser's greed just completely takes over. The miser hears this incredible story and only sees a recipe he can copy. He totally misses the part about timing, luck, and character. He thinks he can just follow the same steps and get the same results. But, can you really bottle lightning twice? So, exactly 1 month later, the miser runs to that same mill and hides in the exact same spot, just waiting for the animals to show up for their next meeting. He's expecting to get a whole new batch of secrets to make himself rich. But the animals aren't idiots. The wolf speaks up and says, "Hey, wait a minute. Every single secret we shared last month has come true. The mouse's gold is gone, that hen was sold, the treasure's been dug up." They realize someone must have been listening in. The lion orders a search, and of course, they find the miser hiding. They are furious that someone's been spying on them, and they attack him. He barely gets out of there with his life, but he's left broken, badly hurt, and with absolutely nothing. His attempt to just copy-paste his way to riches ends in total disaster. So the story wraps up with our two companions in their final, very different places in life. They went their separate ways a long time ago, but you can see how their paths were really set from those first few choices they made. And the final scoreboard couldn't be clearer. One man who started everything with an act of generosity ended up with it all. The other man who started with an act of greed lost everything, including his own well-being. It's a straight line, right? From who they were on the inside to what their lives became on the outside. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. This story is full of gold and treasure and magical cures, but was any of that stuff the real treasure? Or was the true treasure the generosity and wisdom that let one man turn a lucky break into a good life, while the other man's greed turned that exact same opportunity into his own downfall?